Greetings, podcast listeners, and welcome to the Pic-a-Flic podcast, a show where I, your host with the most, the Western Wonder, covers a variety of film and TV, both old and new, the best way I know how. In this review, I will be covering a limited series with a title that perfectly describes the world that we're currently living in, The Madness, which is currently streaming on Netflix. Now, how did this show fall under the Pic-a-Flic on your radar, you may ask? Well, it's simple. Its lead star attracted me to it. Enough said. I usually have a quirky punchline to add here, but I don't. I'm still working on building up that holiday spirit, so I promise to be lively on my next review outing. But in the context of the show, being reserved fits, so let's get down to business and let me explain the premise to you. The story revolves around a CNN media pundit named Muncie Daniels, played by Colman Domingo, who decides that after fighting for his fucking life in the political space on the daily, he decides to take a break, relax his mind, and observe some nature. So he's off to the Poconos where he meets a friendly neighbor that reassures him that if there's anything he needs, to just visit him and ask. Well, Muncie's chances of getting help after his electricity goes out are dashed when he discovers his neighbor's dead body, and from this point forward is immediately thrust into a web of lies and accusations in a bid to defend his name, and his estranged family at that. So let me mention the good things that I have to say about this series. Colman Domingo was the reason I even tuned in for the first place, and he effortlessly carries the storyline well in the role of Muncie Daniels. While I do have my qualms with the character, which I will mention when I get to the negatives, Mr. Domingo plays him with charm and wit, and he has this face that he makes, this bug-eyed and quivering lip combo, that makes you feel the fear and panic in his case. The supporting cast of characters also round out the story well in their parts too. Now admittedly, the actors playing Muncie's various family members were practically new to me, but that's the beauty of these TV and film projects, being introduced, or reintroduced in some cases, to new faces. Miss Marsha Stephanie Blake plays the role of Muncie's wife, Elena. You may be familiar with her via roles in such projects as Orange is the New Black, The Last Days of Ptolemy Gray, and most recently, Fight Night, The $1 Million Heist on Peacock. While their relationship is strained, they still look out for each other, and Elena especially has a few pivotal heroic moments in the show. And furthermore, the chemistry between Muncie and Elena is quite natural and fun to watch throughout. Thaddeus J. Mixon plays the role of Muncie's son Demetrius. You may be familiar with him via roles in projects such as Reasonable Doubt, Creed 3, and my only personal reference that I've seen him in, the Eddie Murphy holiday movie Candy Cane Lane. I thought that he also brought in a terrific performance here as a son who looks up to his father despite the ups and downs of his family dynamic. Lastly, Gabrielle Graham plays the role of Muncie's daughter Callie. You may be familiar with her via roles in projects such as 20s and On the Basis of Sex. While younger Demetrius looks up to Papa Muncie, the older Callie does not, as she is more in the know of his issues that led to this dysfunctional family ties. Now, granted, she still does love and support him when a crisis happens, but she is still distant from him at times. Once again, her character also brings in a dynamic that accompanies Muncie's, and there's also some vulnerable moments shared between the two, albeit not as tense as certain events involving Demetrius or Elena. Great acting by the family all around. While the family's actors were fresher in my eyes, some of the recurring players were the ones I instantly recognized without looking up. Dion Cole, the comedian who had a great dramatic turn at The Harder They Fall and 700 Old Spice commercials, shows up as a friend of Muncie's who helps him in the legal aspects of his case. Stephen McKinley Henderson, a great character actor who's recently starred in the Dune films, shows up as another character who assists Muncie. And Bradley Whitford from The West Wing shows up as a potential key to who set up Muncie to be the fall guy in his dead neighbor's case. But enough about this cast. How about the storyline and general vibe of the show? Early on, it felt like an average drama thriller with certain elements that have been done to other shows and films, but better. However, there are some interesting twists and turns that the show takes and ups the entertainment value a bit. The suspenseful vibe is helped by your usual booming musical score and the aforementioned performances as well, which, speaking of, also has some funny one-liners to ease the tension between different characters, some of whom took some time getting warmed up to. Especially the wife of Muncie's neighbor and similar side characters within its orbit. But once again, the storyline makes them more bearable and interesting as things progress. And now for the negatives of The Madness, the things I didn't particularly like or enjoy. Firstly, the episodes in terms of their overall quality has a bad case of the dipsy doodles for me. While one episode can grip your attention and keeps you immersed throughout, another episode may be a slow burner, and not in a good way. In the sense that there's some boring dialogue and storytelling at various points. So I struggled with the inconsistency of the quality, and it was all over the place. Secondly, while the character of Muncie Daniels is charming and witty, he also exhibits big main character energy. And what I mean by that is the way that he's easily able to escape certain situations unscathed, despite the fact that he's a strapping 500 feet tall, and his haircut and beard always remains intact and pristine through the whole show. And there's also the fact that he can also be a bit too naive for his own good sometimes, which is frustrating when you consider the plight of his case. Also, while the family dynamic is defined as estranged, it's more so dysfunctional. Sometimes they come together to help out Muncie and give him advice, other times not so it's a bit confusing to follow as the story progresses. And speaking of said story progression, the third and final con to mention here is the final episode, which I won't spoil too much. While the last episode isn't a disappointing conclusion per se, it does feel rushed in some areas, while filler heavy in others. When Muncie appears to seem to find a conclusion to his story, more conflicts start to unravel, but they're quickly put to rest without any proper explanation or necessary value to the ongoing story at hand. And overall, I just walked off the series feeling a bit meh, There was more that could have been added, but it wasn't, and perhaps it should have gotten another episode to expand on that, or if said conflicts wouldn't have progressed the story either way, they probably should have cut the series down an episode short. Overall, on the Pic-a-Flic rating scale out of 5 popcorn buckets, I'm gonna have to give The Madness a very light 3 out of 5. And if my expectations were a little bit higher coming in, it would have teetered down to the 2.5 out of 5. The great acting from a stacked cast of players ends up frequently battling an unfocused, inconsistent script and storyline that dips in quality on and off. And it's a shame as there are some interesting storylines intact, but some of the resolutions end on an abbreviated or sometimes unexplained note. I would only recommend this series if you're interested in checking out conspiracy thrillers, or you may be familiar with the aforementioned actors that I brought up earlier. As I said, lead actor Colman Domingo carries the show and probably needs back pain medicine for carrying it, and I think he's able to turn in a terrific performance balanced by a stronger script than films such as Sing Sing, which is in the running for award season currently, so be sure to check him out there and here. And that will be a wrap on this review. Next up on the Pic-a-Flic podcast, the return of the Flicky Quickie Corner, a series that I do that features reviews of films done in under 3 to 5 minutes. And just in time for the holiday season, I'll be dropping a review for one of my personal favorite comfort movies called Last Holiday starring Queen Latifah on Christmas Day. So, if you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to be among the first to get notifications on when new reviews drop, be sure to subscribe to the pod wherever you listen to Shed shows and tell a friend to tell another friend to check out this pod. Also, if you want to follow the show on social media, we can be found on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, God forbid if there is a ban for it the next month, under the username handle at Pic-a-Flic That is at PICAFLICPOD. If review logging is your thing, then you may be familiar with Letterboxd, where you also can find non-audio exclusive reviews that I do under the aforementioned Pic-a-Flic username. Lately, I've been playing the game of catch up for some buzz about films from this year, and I recently logged out reviews for Transformers 1, Superman, the Christopher Reeve story, and the Maria Callas biopic starring Angelina Jolie. So be sure to look out for more over there if you follow me there. Once again, thank you all for tuning in for this little review, and I hope you enjoyed your stay. And until the next one, this is the Western Wonder, and I'm signing out. Peace!
Bye, have a great time!